Good day everyone, so let's go through the Hyakunin Ikki event in detail from a free-to-play perspective. So hopefully this will help you guys a lot. As you can see here, I'm using all of the trial characters that I can possibly, and then just here and there a couple of my own characters. So hopefully this will be relatable enough to you guys. What you can see is me sort of forming the different team pairs, and what's essential is giving each pair a proper buff. So in this case, Beidou and Yaemiko have very high elemental burst costs, so decreasing the elemental burst cooldown is absolutely important. For someone like Ayaka and Shenhe, giving increased attack makes the most sense, because Shenhe can then give that extra attack to Ayaka and then she can hit quite hard. With Kokomi here, you can see the special buff that she's going to get is that whenever she restores HP, she will do like a lightning strike onto the enemies, which is pretty awesome. For Yoimiya and Kazuha, we obviously want to increase elemental mastery and then the pyro damage bonus for Yoimiya. So this will obviously work for that pair. Again, both of these characters are trial characters. And then when we move on to Ito and Klee, we essentially just sort of want to increase their damage. Basically, you'll see we're going to give them energy recharge, and I think for Ito as well, I think something about crit damage. Let me just quickly make 100% sure. There we go, crit damage as well, which is going to favor Ito a lot. And then finally, the last two trial characters, Xiangling and Razor, we want to restore as much energy for them as possible. And as you guys can see, this is sort of the characters I'm going to use. This is of course my alternative account. Now, the majority of the characters or 5 stars are at C0. The only exception is of course Kokomi and then Shenhe, which if you guys have followed the channel, we got really lucky with back-to-back constellations. So as a consequence, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to use Shenhe's burst, and I'll only activate her E once at any given point. So hopefully that should be fine with everyone. And as you can see on screen, everyone else is pretty much normalized. So let's get into this event and see how you should play optimally to get that 3000 score with all these characters. So the big thing here is we want to precast, and then we immediately want to pop Yaemiko's burst, and then we're going to go back and then pop Beidou's elemental burst. And now we just want to quickly phase out and then continuously do her charge attacks or normal attacks with Yaemiko, because then we can trigger Beidou's elemental burst, and that should clear the first 2 waves. Now what you'll see is I'm using tap E with Shenhe, and that's the most important thing because I want to increase Ayaka'S elemental burst, and I'm standing here in the corner so that this trial Ayaka, this is not my normal Ayaka, this is a trial character, can do a lot of damage, which is pretty awesome. And we are just going to do 1 tap, and now we're going to do some more damage, dodge the attack, not too bad. And you can see here we are just sort of hitting the enemy like 1 slash at a time. So now we're going to swap off, freeze him in place, again pop Xingshu's elemental burst, pop Kokomi's elemental burst, and there you go. As promised, that electro discharge is pretty strong, so you can see electro charge, and then of course Ocean Youth Clam and everything working really nicely. So you can see that enemy is now wet, so this is quite important, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to swirl the hydro and not the pyro, and what it's going to allow me to do is break this little lava chill shield very quickly. So you can see there are 4 elements: animo, pyro, hydro, and of course what's the other one, electro being active. Here you can see I'm just going to use a combination of Klee and Ito, and what I'm going to try and do is stagger the enemies as much as possible. Enemies can't hit you if they're staggered, and this is the strong thing, that if you play Ito and you play his combos and Klee's combos correctly, you can continuously stagger the enemies, which is so cool and so awesome. And I think now we're going to swap to Xiangling, iframe with elemental burst, go into Razor, and now we're just going to smack the enemies again. We don't want them to move, so we're just going to smack them, move a bit towards the enemies, make sure we don't hit. Oh, we took a bit of damage there, but that's okay. And now we're back at the beginning. And you'll see this is the exact same pattern. Since we're running duos here, this is the one situation where you want to perhaps do triple EQ with Yaemiko, swap to Beidou and then come back, and then Yaemiko can have all the on-field time. And of course that buff for decreasing their elemental burst cooldowns is pretty strong. Again, this is a C0 Yaemiko, so you don't need constellations. Here's 1 tap E of Shenhe, and now we're just going to hit the enemies. And there we go, because I had a feeling that I'll miss my elemental burst, so we did the hold E instead of the tap E. There we go, and that's pretty much just trying to dodge the enemies. They can be really annoying. So this part is a bit of feels a bit like drudge work, because you've just got so many things to dodge, otherwise enemies keep interrupting you, which is quite bad. And here we go, back with Kokomi, and she will just smack these enemies. It doesn't matter what they're doing, it doesn't matter if they're gonna hit her, because she is literally immortal with the damage resistance and all these sorts of things that even Shingshu provides. Again, a fantastic pairing. And of course here we are with Kazuha. We want to swirl the Hydro, not the Pyro, and then we want to tag the enemies and just hit them with as many sort of concurrent abilities as possible. Unfortunately, this guy fell outside of that swirling, which is a bit of a sort of DPS loss, but that's okay. And at this point we've already reached the platinum score, which is so awesome, and now we can just smack enemies around with Ito, and yeah, that is pretty much like quite fun. See if we can't stagger them. You can see just that continuous staggering going on. And here's a little Klee, and she's just going to do her thing. So now the enemies are pretty much spread out, and yeah, there's not much more to say. I think that'll be it for this round, but yeah, that is the guide to getting a good score with mostly trial characters and F2P characters, guys. You too can get 3000. I'm pretty sure it's all dependent on how well you play. Again, the execution is what matters. As long as your characters are decently built, you too can get a very decent platinum score. And yeah, let me know if this sort of helps, if this sort of team comp suggestions means anything, and thank you for watching. Cheers.